welcome to episode number 192 of the Canadian Football Countdown, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network. This episode of the podcast is brought to you from Treaty 1 territory, traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Ojibwe, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and the homeland of the Métis Nation, as well as from Treaty 4 territory, traditional territory of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Nation. Welcome one and all to our 2022 CFL Division Finals preview. We're down to 4 teams. After this weekend, we'll be down to 2. We're here to break down the divisional matchups here today. I'm Ryan Coop, and I'm joined, first of all, by a man who I can confirm is a verified member of this podcast. It's Mr. Verified on Twitter himself. Trey Colbeck is here. Trey, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. Just hit a new level of, personal high today, and that I got a little check mark on my name. Best $9.99 I spent this month. So we'll see if it stays around. But gotta support it. Otherwise, Twitter will be dead. And where else will I do annoying horse racing stuff all day and watch Adam's farming stuff, right? So it's what I need.
Yes, that's fair. Definitely keeping a watch on how things are going with Twitter over the next little while, of course. And joining us here, as always, this evening as well, still rocking the Argos hat. An Argos hat in Saskatchewan. Farmer in Saskatchewan. It's the great Adam Stewart. Adam, how are you?
Hey, doing good, Ryan. Quite amazing to see Trey verified today. I wonder which one will last longer now, Twitter or the CFL. CFL doesn't seem to ever die, so I kind of maybe got Twitter right now on the ropes. So we'll see which one happens here. But hey, yeah, I guess you can get verified now too. So right on.
There we go. This podcast is famous enough in its own right. We don't need the blue check mark, right? Maybe we'll have to find a spot in the budget to go and get it. We'll see. We're here to preview the division finals. Tonight, we'll take a look first at the East final between the Toronto Argonauts and Montreal Alouettes. We'll take a look at the West final between the BC Lions and Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We'll make our CFL fantasy picks, which, boy, have I had a hard time this week with the limited options available. And we'll make our picks, I think, both straight up and against the spread for these 2 games here at the end of the show. Officially for the standings, it'll only count the picks against the spread, but I figure should do them straight up here. It's the playoffs after all. We are live. We'll also take your comments and questions throughout the night in our live chat over on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. All made possible by our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV, which you can learn more about at GameTimeTV.ca or on Facebook at Facebook.com/GameTimeTVMB. Also want to take a moment to thank another sponsor for this episode of the podcast, which is BetStamp. There are so many different sports books out there these days. Each one offers you different prices on the same games. Well, BetStamp helps you find the best odds among them. Simply pull up the game on the app, see all of the different odds, see the BetStamp best recommended odds as well, and help you place the bet that will maximize the return value. If you find some odds you like, you can also sign up directly through the BetStamp BetLink page within the app, link your accounts to it, track your picks as you go along as well. And if you want some extra insight, you can check out the commission-free marketplace where you can see the bets others have made. And through verified bet tracking features, you get the guarantee that the odds are legitimate. You can find our CFL picks there every week under the username CF Countdown Pod. Visit betstamp.app or download the app from your local app store for free. Sign up with referral code CFC to let them know we sent you, help grow the show. Start using BetStamp free today. Best of luck with your wagers. And remember, always bet responsibly. Well, guys, we're here. Can you believe it? We're here at the division finals. We're here down to 4 teams left. And we had 2 great games last weekend. And I think we're on deck for 2 great games this coming weekend. So let's start off with our East Division preview here. The Montreal Alouettes, coming off of that win against the Toronto Argonauts, against the Ticats, coming into Toronto to a almost sold out BMO field. I guess let's start there. A lot is made every year about the Argos attendance and fan base support. Pretty exciting to see the stadium almost sold out here for this game, isn't it, Adam? We may have lost Adam. Trey, are you still there?
Oh, that's fine. I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, what do you think about the Argos selling out the stadium here?
Toronto FC didn't make the playoffs this year, so I guess fans have some extra money. No, I'm just kidding. It's good to see. How many of that's Montreal fans? Because Uncle Gary, keeps pushing that on Twitter. It's still good to see. Good packed house of 20,000. I guess it's kind of sad that we have to say 20,000 is a sellout, though. You know what I mean? When we're Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, a sellout's 35,000, or and even BC had 40 something and wasn't quite sold out, and what's Commonwealth can hold 60 something. You know what I mean? That's a sellout to me, but still good to see. Adam, are you there?
Yeah, now I'm here. Sorry, guys, my internet was acting up there. You know what? No, I think that, hey, you've got the stadium that's 21,000. Hey, if you fill it out, you're making money. That's all that matters in Toronto right now. And to me, if you're going to sell 21,000 seats, you sell 21,000 seats. You got to sell out. You got a big raucous crowd. Toronto fans like myself, we all know how to cheer and celebrate real loud. So to me, I think that, you know what, it's going to be a fun game. I think there's going to be lots of Argo fans, to be honest with you. I don't know how many Alouettes. I hope there'll be a few Alouette fans as well, because that just makes the atmosphere all the more fun. Hopefully everybody has a lot of fun out there. Maybe not too much fun after the game, like what happened last year. We don't want to see any of that again. But you know what? No, if there's 21,000 seats, they sell 21,000 seats. All the power and all the good to Larry Tannenbaum and the Toronto Argonauts organization for getting a sellout. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, so we look at this matchup between these two teams, and I believe they played 3 times during the regular season. The Argos' first game of the year back in week number 2, they won 20-19. I believe that was off the last second, 17-yard missed field goal by David Cote in that one. And then they played each other in 2 of the final weeks of the season in a home-and-home series there. The Argos took one 24-23 on October 22nd. The week after, the Alouettes took it 38-33. So pretty close in all the games played this season. Last one was kind of a wash because a lot of starters were resting. But now they play here for the 3rd time in 4 weeks, these two teams. Like we did for the division semifinals, let's break it down at the different positions here, and we'll start on offense. Adam, who do you give the edge to on the offensive side of the ball in this game?
This one's close because, again, you've got 2 dynamic offenses here that I think both could pretty well break open a game. Montreal, you've got Eugene Lewis, and returning and starting to get a little more relevant Jake Wenicky as well. So I think the Alouettes will be a pretty good challenge coming in. If Walter Fletcher can keep doing like he did against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I think the Montreal Alouettes have a very good chance in this game. However, there's a big if on this little bit, because the Argonauts are receiving a player back this week that I've heard of. Running back Andrew Harris should be ready to go for the game here. And if he is, and he's running and ready, this could be a long day for the Montreal Alouettes. He's a great runner. He's a great blocking back. The Argonauts, again, still have some good weapons downfield, including like a veteran like Brandon Banks, which could go and get active on the field if you've got a Canadian running back all of a sudden in Andrew Harris. The other one also is Curly Gittins Jr. had a very good year so far. I can't see why he would not have another good game or so. And you got Jawan Breskison back there as well. Another good receiver for the Toronto Argonauts. Question for them might be a little bit more of the quarterback. I don't know why. I know there's a lot of guys that are very good supporters of McLeod Bethel Thompson. I just don't know about a playoff McLeod Bethel Thompson. He has had multiple opportunities to take this team to the Grey Cup, including last year, and somehow it always seems to be where the other team walks in and ends up winning. So I want to see what comes out of McLeod Bethel Thompson this week. We know Trevor Harris can win games in the Grey Cup or in the playoffs. Can McLeod Bethel Thompson do the same thing? That remains to be seen. Trey, what's your keys in this offense?
Whoever runs the dang ball, and I hope Andrew Harris, I hope he gets touches. You would think he would, but you never know. Watch him. Are they going to ease him into the game? He's also plus 30 something right now, right? 30s, and it's a different game, but I'm hoping to watch the running game. And if you watch the other side, it was Stanback that just kind of came back, right? And him with Fletcher last week. That's pretty good dynamic duo there. And I would not be surprised if those two got him, like, split the shifts again. You get two different running styles. That ends up giving Harris more time. Doesn't matter which running back's out there. Still could be play action. Still could be a run play. I really think this was a tough one because I don't know who to give this one to. So when we come to betting later, it's going to be interesting. Ryan?
Yeah, offensively, it's just very close. Like McLeod Bethel Thompson led the league in passing yards, I think, this season, right? Or he was very close. Yeah, he did. But yet they only have one more passing touchdown than the Alouettes did this season. So that's been the knock on the Argos. They've also, I think they had the lowest number of rushing touchdowns, just 9 on the ground this season for them. So good offense, all the talent is there. It just hasn't delivered on the offensive side of the ball. Whereas Montreal, to their credit, I feel like is, a less potent offense, but they get it done when they need to. So Andrew Harris, if he is back, if he is playing at the full workload, potentially, I mean, he's a game breaker, especially in the playoffs. And when he's pissed off, when he's missed time, Andrew Harris comes back fired up and ready to go and definitely wants to go out and get the three-peat. So that's a huge factor that makes me want to maybe tip it into Toronto's direction. But also early in the season, like even with Andrew Harris in there, they weren't scoring touchdowns. They weren't running the ball super effectively. Which is why it was crazy that he was on that first all-star list this year before they corrected it. I think I have to give the edge to Montreal a little bit on offense just because they're more efficient, it seems, at putting the ball in the end zone. But it's very close on the offensive side of the ball for me here.
Did I see something that Andrew Harris just had another kid this week too?
Oh, really? Well,
congratulations. I thought I saw that on Twitter somewhere. So I don't know. That could go one of two ways. That could be, you just got another newborn, or that could be, hey, there's another reason to win on Sunday, right? So I thought I saw that. I'll scroll through the Twitter feed now that I'm verified. It should be easier to find,
Yeah, I guess I never did say who I was actually going to pick for choice in offense on this side of the game. I look at it as, you got pretty even running backs, maybe a little bit of an advantage for Montreal because they got the extra running back that's really capable. Receivers, I think it's pretty much even. Quarterbacks, probably an edge to Montreal. But the other thing also to remember is offensive line. Landon Rice has done a very good job for the Montreal Alouettes. That being said, I know some of those guys over on the Toronto side of the football. I mean, they used to be former Riders, and for some reason, Jeremy O'Day decided we didn't need any offensive line because we were so great. There is that. So I think it's going to be fairly even on that as well. But you're right. When you were saying it, Ryan, at the beginning of the year, they did not run the football effectively with Andrew Harris, which was strange because you've got one of the best running backs in the game. However, you've got a healthy Andrew Harris now, allegedly. And you've got a very well-rested Andrew Harris. So to me, I'm going to give the edge to the Argonauts just because of that. Because I think everything else is pretty even, except I'm just still got a little bit of a question mark on McLeod Bethel Thompson.
Hey, real quick here, just according to the Toronto Sun, as of Thursday morning, Andrew Harris welcomed his second child, a boy, Axon Jacob Harris, into the world. So there's another thing to play for, and
and congratulations to the Harris family, absolutely.
Yeah, big time.
Saskatchewan starts scouting for 2048.
But yeah, I think too he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder, and he's one game away potentially from facing his old team at a stadium that he has historically done really good in too, right? So, they always say 1 week at a time, but he'd be lying if he's saying that he's not waiting for next week, right? So,
for sure.
I got it. I was going. I said I was on the Uncle Gary train, but it's really hard to go against Toronto this week. It's a tough one.
Well, let's look at the defensive side of the ball next then. And for me, this one I put clearly in Toronto's favor. I think Montreal's defense played really well against Hamilton last week, but they also played disciplined, which is something we haven't seen all season. And I'm, consistently, and I'm not sold that they're going to do it here in the East Final. defensive lines, I'd put them pretty equal. Sacks roughly the same there between the two teams. The big stat that jumps out to me, though, the Argos had 29 interceptions this season. The next highest in the league was a three-way tie between Calgary, BC, and Hamilton at 19. So 10 extra picks by the Argos over the next best in the league. Montreal had 14 all the way down there. The secondary and the linebackers for the Argos have been pretty darn good this season. I think they've carried the team to that first place in the division and made it so the offense has had to do just enough. I got to lean the Argos defense here. What about you, Trey?
Yeah, I guess I got to go that way too. I was really impressed with how Montreal played last week. And like I said, up until about remembering Andrew Harris might play, I was all in Montreal's boat. I don't know. It all depends on how much they play him. And the defense is going to have to slow down the run game and make Bethel Thompson win this game on his arm. I think if they can take away the run, then I think it's Montreal's game. But if Andrew Harris or AJ Ouellette or whoever is back there kind of starts taking over the game, I think it's night for Montreal. Adam?
Yeah, I was just looking at this one here. I mean, with Quentin McManus in the backfield for the Toronto Argonauts, and you've got other guys in this team again. This is a Toronto Argonauts team that's a very good team against the run. It's really a team like Deshaun Amos, and you've got so many other good guys, Royce Mechie, that have been doing just an amazing job for the Argonauts this year. I really think that the Argonauts have the advantage in defense. Not being said, Mike Jones had a great week last week with the interceptions, and Montreal did a good job of getting pressure on a Hamilton Tiger Cats quarterback. But this is a different quarterback and a different offensive line. And traditionally, they get some pressure over on McLeod Bethel Thompson, but he seems to know what he's doing with it. This is more veteran quarterback, I believe. So to me, it's advantage Toronto in the defense.
See, it's interesting. I was just double checking the stats here. Montreal actually has a lower rushing and passing yards against per game than the Argos do, but those penalties is the big key that doesn't play into that, right? That makes Montreal's defense less efficient than these stats show, because those don't show up under that stat line. And if your defense can make the big plays, that can turn the tide of the game. So I think that's why I'm still in the Argos camp, despite the numbers being closer. And I think the Alouettes have one of the more underrated defenses in the CFL. Then we look at the special teams side of things. On one side, you've got, David Cote doing some kicking for Montreal. You've got Chandler Worthy in the return game. On the Toronto side, Boris Beatty doing the kicking. And they've rotated returners throughout the year. I think the last one doing it has been Jeremiah Hadel for the Argos there. Adam, what about you here? Where do you go on the special teams side?
Well, I think the kickers are pretty much even. I mean, David Cote had that bad miss, I think, or against the Argonauts earlier in the season, and Boris Beatty had another miss or two, and it was pretty well even for special teams and the kicking side of the game. But on the returning side of the game, you're right. Toronto's been doing it by committee. I don't really see them having it. They get reasonable yardage on their returns, but they're not getting Chandler-worthy yardage. Chandler Worthy, again, had two huge plays there for Montreal. One at the first play of the game against Hamilton last week, and ended up with a 50-yard return and got that right into Hamilton Field to start the game. So that helped the Alouettes immensely right off the bat. And then later on in the game, I think it was the fourth quarter sometime, he also had another huge return. To me, it's advantage Montreal because the return game is such a big part of this game here this week. And if you give your running backs good yardage to start, they don't have to run as much. So it's just, I think, advantage Montreal. Trey?
Yeah, from the return side, I'll give it to Montreal. I was just looking quickly at punting and kickoff yards. Toronto's leading in that. So, they're kicking a little bit farther. But then again, you have Montreal. They give them more space to return. There's a lot of plays in there. I really like the Philpott brothers, and seeing the one on Montreal's this week and other things go on. I'll lean towards Montreal for special teams. But this is not a game you want to leave to a field goal, I don't think, on either side of how these guys have played, right? So, or no last second rouges to win this one.
Absolutely.
Oh, come on. I want the chaos.
Absolutely not what you want. That's correct. I mean, looking at the field goal percentages, Montreal 86.3 on the year. Boris Beatty's at 78.2%, which surprises me because I feel like his name's up there normally as a strong performer each week. Maybe it's just the volume and the sheer number of kicks he's done, where he might only be going 4 for 5 every week, but he's making 4 field goals. The return game, Chandler Worthy was a nominee for Special Teams Player of the Year. That tips it pretty cleanly in Montreal's direction for me on the special teams. I think he's as explosive as they come. A final category here, coaching. Danny Machocha and staff on the Montreal side, Ryan Dinwiddie and staff on the Argos side. I'm not going to lie, I don't like either of them necessarily. I'm still not a believer in Machocha at head coach and corralling the team, although they did a good job last week. And I think Ryan Dinwiddie in his first 2 seasons as a head coach has shown times with clock management, things like that, where, maybe some issues there. I honestly don't know which way to lean. I might have to call it a wash here, maybe lean Machocha because he has more of that veteran experience. Trey, what do you think? Any advantage in the coaching strategies here?
Yeah, I'll go with Machocha. Just 20. Where's he here? Trying to find his coaching stats here. It doesn't really have them. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Grey Cup champion, bunch of college championships, been a head coach in Montreal, now and then in Edmonton, and then back in college, now back in Montreal. I'm going to give it to him. He's been coaching for 30 plus years, general manager, college, the game, the pro game. I've been saying a lot that for Toronto's sake, I'll give it to the veteran players. Well, you got to give it to the veteran coaches then on the other side as well, right? So Dinwiddie, I'm not sold. He's got the baby blue eyes. Not much else going for him than that. So, I'll give it to Montreal. Adam?
Yeah, no, I'm not a Danny Machocha fan by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, back in the day when he was with Edmonton and him smiling and then not smiling and not smiling and not smiling during that last little bit of the one Grey Cup. But you know what? He was in the Grey Cup. He was a veteran coach, and he is a veteran coach. So I will give it to Danny Machocha at the moment. But again, if there's a lot of penalties in this game, I will feel real bad if I didn't give it to Ryan Dinwiddie. However, that being said, Ryan Dinwiddie should have won a Grey Cup in 07, but did he, guys? Anybody want to answer that? Okay.
I don't remember that year. I don't know.
Yeah, been a while ago anyways. So I don't know about him as a coach. Again, he does some questionable calls, you're right, especially on his run game once in a while. Suddenly he'll just disappear like all of a sudden like he's Jason Moss or something. So anyways, to me, I think I'm going to probably give the edge to Montreal in this one. But again, yeah, Danny Machocha is not my favorite guy either.
Can I throw one thing in here on his Wikipedia page? He's 5-1 in the postseason as a coach. So, yeah. So you take that in football, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he knows playoffs, but I just don't like the guy.
No, 41-44 overall, but 5-1 in the postseason.
That's a good record. That's a good record, yeah.
And again, I don't know my college history as much. I'm sure there's not many coaches that have a Vanier Cup and a Grey Cup, especially recently, right? So he's a guy that's got experience on all aspects of the Canadian game. He's not an American coach. He doesn't have the 4-game or 4-down game kind of comes up here. He's got the Canadian in him. I'll go with Machado.
The only other thing we haven't really talked about that I think can have a big impact potentially on this game is the crowd, because as much flack as Argos fans get for, the quantity that show up regularly, that stadium is loud. Like the fans that show up are passionate about their football team. They're diehard fans. They're loud. Now you add all the extra folks in the seats in this one. I think there's a lot of home field advantage to be had here for the Argos in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, it also includes us bandwagon fans. I mean, we'll make a lot of noise as well. But no, the Argo fans do a great job of making noise and giving themselves as much noise as they could possibly give themselves. Even the casual fan will make some noise. So depending on which side this is, if it was all Montreal fans buying tickets, which I have a hard time believing that it was just Montreal fans, I think the Argos are going to get a little bit of an advantage just from the crowd because they've been waiting for a long time to have a big crowd at a game, and by the looks of things, they're going to get it.
And excited to see what they do with that too, right? So we'll see how that game goes and how much the crowd impacts things there. Let's switch over and look at the West Division final here now. The BC Lions, fresh off a win over Calgary, they're coming into Winnipeg to face the Bombers, who are looking to go back to the Grey Cup for the third consecutive year here. I believe it's close to a sellout. A few tickets left for this game as well, so tickets are going fast for that one. You love to see it. IG Field is always fun when it's a packed house. Season series between these two clubs back in July, the Bombers took it to the Lions 43-22 with a big win in that one. I know that was a very much hyped up matchup between them. And then oddly enough, just the same as Montreal and Toronto playing in the final 2 weeks, so did Winnipeg and BC here. And I guess that's just the way the scheduling works now. The Lions took the first one on October 15th, 40-32. And then the Bombers took the season finale in the game where hardly anybody played full lengths, 24-9 there for the Bombers in that one. So Winnipeg takes season series 2-1. Let's start offensive side of the ball, which I think is where the most debate will be. Let's go to you first here, Trey. Who do you think has the edge on offense?
The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and only because 15-3 MOP, yes, Rourke should have it, whatever. But again, I'm just not sold on the ankle, and I want to be. I really do. Like, for the welfare of the league, does it sound great? He comes back, wins 3 games, rides off into the sunset to the NFL. That sounds amazing for him. But I don't think that's in the cards for him. I think it's going to be a tough one this week. And if he does squeeze by Winnipeg, it'll be even tougher one in Regina next week. I really think Winnipeg's been poised to do this. They've been Big Hill showed up at 5:45 to practice the other day. If you saw that on Twitter, the team was all showing up. Yes, I'm sure BC Lions are doing that too. But how many teams are have the 3 or potential 3 straight Grey Cups and they're still showing up early? They just look focused. I really like the team. I think they're going to run the ball. Dalton showed, put Willie Jefferson 6'6" out there. He said he wants to play offense this week too in an interview. I really am leaning towards Winnipeg, and I know both of you guys are going to tell me how I'm wrong. So we'll just go for it, Adam.
Well, first, I'm going to go and read some viewer comments because we haven't done a lot of that yet here today. The matchup Cole goes, and thanks for joining in, Cole. Matchup everybody's been looking forward to since they met in July. Yep, pretty much. I mean, this game here is almost circled on the calendar to pretty much say that they're going to be in there and they're both going to face each other. I think everybody had that at that point. Would have been nice to, Richard in the chat, would have been nice to see them play some more meaningful games during the regular season. Yeah, they had 2, though. I mean, that's all you kind of get usually. And if you have the last game of the year, sometimes they just aren't meaningful. That's the way it is. No team is going to let their secrets out at the last game of the season unless you don't have anything to play for the next season, till the next season. And then we've also got one here. If anybody's going to go to the game, make sure you heckle Chris's boss. I've been trying to convince Ryan to wear an orange t-shirt and saying chair of the Nathan Rourke Hall of Fame Club and see what happens to him in Winnipeg. But apparently he doesn't think that's funny. So nevertheless. And also,
I think it's great. I love it. I'm not going to wear an orange t-shirt when isn't it supposed to be like -15, -20 again? So.
No, I moved up. I think you guys are at -3 now. So,
Well, the snow today, the snowstorm we're in may impact things. So.
Yeah, no, we've had that earlier. So I guess. Nevertheless, and Richard says in the chat as well, winner of this game is the Grey Cup winner. Well, I don't know. The guy.
I disagree. I disagree with that. I think the Calgary Stampeders and Montreal Alouettes of old have a lot of things to say about how the 8-8 team comes in and somehow wins, right? So I don't know if it's that simple. I think these two teams are going to beat up on each other. and Montreal or Toronto might have, I know it makes the season longer. I've been thinking maybe they should do the week off in between like they do for the Super Bowl, just to let this game be a little bit better, but that's for off-season stuff, right? But man, I think next week's game, Toronto or Montreal has a good shot at it, and you think about it, do you think the Rider fans are going to get behind BC or Winnipeg? No. So it's going to be a home game for Toronto or Montreal, right? So,
well, that being said, though, if it's the BC Lions, I know there's BC fans in Saskatchewan, and I know there's a lot of Nathan Rourke fans in Saskatchewan.
That's true. It's definitely not going to be a home Bomber game if they make it. So
it's going to be a little bit split. But if it's the Bombers, oh no, all bets are off. You know who anybody in green is going to be probably cheering for. Nevertheless, we're going on to I got to get back to what we were talking about here with the offense. To me, here's my way of looking at it. Dalton Schoen is an elite running receiver. Nick Dembski, I'm sure he's going to play in the end, will be as a great receiver as well. Greg Ellingson, he was there in 2013 in Hamilton. He's the veteran that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers needed to get to be in a great spot for the Grey Cup and be one game away from the Grey Cup. He didn't play much this year, but you know what? He's still there. You look at the offensive side of the football, maybe the only real question mark, and again, it's not really a question mark because he had great yards this year, is Brady Oliveira. He's had a good year all around. I mean, I used to criticize him all the time on this, and for some reason, I kind of got proved wrong that he's not a good running back. So he really is a good running back. And you've got Zach Collaros on the other side. That's a team that should win a Grey Cup, obviously. It's one of those things. However, we've seen Zach Collaros playing in the cold, and I know Winnipeg fans are going to go on me right away about this. Zach Collaros doesn't like the cold. I will say that because look last year in the West Final, what was it? 6 interceptions or 6 turnovers by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers? That's not traditional of them. The year before that, had quite a few turnovers in Saskatchewan. Mind you, so did Cody Fajardo. So in the end, the Bombers won and got going on. If he does that during this game here, the BC Lions will win. Plain and simple. There's no doubt in my mind. Something about Nathan Rourke has me kind of just thinking this guy's going to do it somehow. He's got a bad foot. I know he does. He's going to have that thing treated by every doctor this week. He's going to have this thing evaluated by everyone, get the best treatment that he can for his foot, and he'll be ready to go against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You've got probably a great running back in James Butler. Is just a real strong running back, can make plays. He was banged up a little bit, but I think he'll be okay for the West Final. And then your receiving core, you still got Brian Burnham, who's that veteran, kind of like what Geroy Simon was for the 2013 Grey Cup for the Riders. That's going to be that veteran that can make a pass and make a catch when he needs to. And those accurate passes, again, there's something about Nathan Rourke. I keep saying him over and over again. He's going to either make or break this team here this week. And to me, if he passes the way he does and with a bad foot, I'd hate to see what happens if he gets off firing and doesn't have as much foot issues this week. Because if he does, Nathan Rourke is going to probably end up winning this game for the BC Lions. So I'm going to go slight edge to the X Factor. So I'm going to go slight edge BC Lions. I shouldn't because of what I just said about the Bombers, but I'm going to go edge BC. And also, if Lucky Whitehead plays. If Lucky Whitehead plays, that's a big, big advantage for the BC Lions as well. But again, I can't say that one. But I know the X Factor is going to be Nathan Rourke. So let's see what BC does. Yeah, I'll give him the slight advantage.
Yeah, Lucky Whitehead, I believe, has not practiced the last 2 days. So we'll continue to see whether he makes it in the lineup in the coming days because the game's not till Sunday. And it's Thursday as we're recording this. I give it equal. I'm going to cop out here and say it's equal between these two teams on offense because I'm having a really hard time sorting out between them. So, at quarterback, I think Rourke is the more explosive one that can turn the tide of the game, but they are playing out in the cold. He does have the ankle issue. I think Zach Collaros is the more stable, consistent quarterback where he's not going to light it up necessarily 400 yards, but he probably will throw multiple touchdown passes in this game. I would be shocked if he didn't, and I'm sure one of those at least goes to Dalton Schoen. At wide receiver, there's so many talented guys on both sides, like Dominic Rhymes, Brian Burnham, Keon Hatcher, Lucky Whitehead, Alexander Hollins on one side. You've got, Nick Dembski, Dalton Schoen, Greg Ellingson, Rashid Bailey. It's a stacked crew on both sides there. Running back, I would maybe lean a little bit more towards BC of James Butler if they use him enough. I think he's the better running back, but it's really close. And Brady Oliveira, when they get him going, they do so very well. They also throw a lot of other gadget plays in there with like Rashid Bailey doing the sweep plays, Nick Dembski doing the sweep plays that open up the running game there. So I have a really hard time picking between these two offenses, and I'm going to call it a wash between them because I don't see a huge advantage one way or the other between these two teams there. So yeah, I think it's even, and I'm just excited to watch both of them perform in this game. On the defensive side of the ball, let's go there next. Where do you see the edge here on defense, Trey?
Okay, just real quick too, I pulled up the weather at kickoff. It's supposed to feel like -10 in Winnipeg, and by the end of the game, it could feel as cold as -14. So not crazy cold, but little colder than it would be at BC Place or in Toronto probably, right? So, but the defense, I've got to give it to Winnipeg again. It's so hard to go against Big Hill, Jefferson, that secondary, Jeff Coat, all those guys. It's so hard to go against them. The one thing that worries me is Richie Hall's bend don't break. If they play zone and just allow Nathan Rourke to throw at will 500 yards, I can't imagine they win, but they pulled those games out of their butts before. I don't know, but if they get the pressure on Rourke, which seems impossible, but if they can do it, rushes, throws, it's still going to be cold. It's still going to be icy. Throws going to need to be more extra perfect this week, as we saw what Zach Claris did last year, right? And I don't know if Nathan Rourke has the defense to get him out of that if he gets into interception trouble. But I will say that Winnipeg does. Adam?
This one's tough for me because, again, your veterans are your veterans, and those guys know how to win a Grey Cup, and Winnipeg has a lot of them. You're right. You've got Adam Big Hill still in the backfield, and he's still great at linebacker. You're still got Willie Jefferson. You still got Jackson Jeffcoat. I'm not sure if Teodric Hansen is going to be back. I don't think so. So you've got whatever in the middle there for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And again, I think the idea of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is going to be rush the daylights out of Nathan Rourke and see if his ankle is good or not. And if it isn't, it should be. But that being said, the BC Lions, I think, in my opinion, have the better secondary. They seem to be a little bit more eager to get those passes. They have one of their players there, Peters, I believe it is, has the second highest amount of interceptions all season with 5. And you've got, again, a guy like Lucas Purifoy in the backfield. I keep saying his name, but yet, like I said, he doesn't seem to come out. But yet, one of these games, I know he will. And if the BC Lions can keep their secondary working well and keep those receivers contained a little bit, or at least make it so that Zach Collaros can't see a lot of passes working, it could be advantage BC. But again, I'm going to go with the veterans on this one. I'm going to say advantage Winnipeg because I'm sure that they've been working on a program to make sure Nathan Rourke has a very uncomfortable day having to run around a lot. Right?
I think I'm going to go with the numbers here and take the Lions on a slight edge on defense. People have been putting the Bombers defense up on a pedestal all season long based on the names on it, based on Adam Big Hill, Willie Jefferson, etc. When really they've had rather average seasons, I think, compared to what we normally expect out of them. Did you guys know the Bombers have the second lowest number of sacks in the league this year with 36, one more than the Edmonton Elks? The BC Lions have 45, so they got to the quarterback more often than the Bombers did, and the Bombers had prime opportunities to do so with a lot of juicy matchups that they just couldn't, and I was shocked to see that happen throughout the year there as well. There is some passing defense concerns for both of these teams. BC gives up the most yards on the to the passing game out of any team. In the league. Winnipeg, that bend but don't break defense you talked about, Trey, if that comes out, that's a concern potentially there on the Winnipeg side of things. Winnipeg's also, one of the worst teams against the run this season. So I think there is room for guys like James Butler to make a ton of plays. If they can't get to Nathan Rourke, that's a problem because he showed last week that even if he can't scramble on his ankle, if he can stay in the pocket, he can make those throws that it doesn't really matter how well the defensive backs are covering Brian Burnham. He's going to make a catch on plays like that. So it's close, I would say, once again. I mean, everything at this point in the season is going to be close. But I have been more impressed above what I expected from the Lions this year than I have been kind of underwhelmed a little bit by what I've seen from the Bombers defense. So I'll give a slight edge to BC in that category. Let's talk special teams here. On one end, you've got Mark Leggio doing the kicking for Winnipeg. You've got Janarian Grant in the return game, Sean White doing kicking, and Stefan Flintoff punting for BC. And Terry Williams in the return game. We saw this big return game matchup between these two teams when they met a couple of weeks ago. Adam, do you see one team having an advantage here?
It's going to be tough again because the kicking game, I think, is very similar. I think I'd probably give the edge probably to Sean White and BC Lions in the kicking side of things. Mark Leggio, he had the one big miss also this year, but after that, he seemed to recover very nicely. So to me, the kicking game is pretty well even, maybe a slight edge to BC. On the return game, I think I'm going to go with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on this one. They seem to have the better returner. I believe it's Grant, if I'm not mistaken, that makes usually their returns. Seems to be maybe the better option, although scary Terry Williams once in a while can just absolutely go and break one. So I'm going to go with slight advantage on that one for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, just because I think Grant probably gives them more consistent yards. But if one of them breaks one, yeah, all bets are off. Trey?
Oh, I'm going Winnipeg, and I'll kind of tie in the next question when it comes to coaching, because you got Osh on the sidelines on Winnipeg, and you don't know what madness he's going to put. And Richard just put that in the comments. Is O'Shea going to pull some of that crazy plays out? Most likely, especially when you got Janarian Grant, and you got a guy like McRae you could put out there, and you got Prukop who's got speed and do some crazy throw across, Memphis Miracle crap there. You could do anything you want out there. Leggio, I'm really impressed with his kicking and kickoffs and punting, field goals. Yeah, you got Sean White, not the snowboarder, the kicker on BC's side. So, you got the veteran on that side. And yes, their return game in BC is great too. But it's those 2 punt returns that came against the BC Lions. Yeah, they were in the dome, but I don't know. It's hard to not go against Winnipeg, Ryan.
Yeah, the only 2 punt returns, I think, across the entire league all season for touchdowns. Did Mario Alford have one? I thought it was a kickoff return, or did he return a punt?
Yeah, a kickoff return, a punt return, and I think he did all. I think he had the trifecta this year.
Oh, okay.
He did have a punt return and a kickoff return. And
for a while, I think it was Janarian Grant. So unless he got the punt return in the final week or two.
Second last game, didn't he? Wasn't that a punt return?
Oh, okay. Okay, well, still, 2 out of the 3 this season have come from Janarian Grant against the BC Lions. That's been one of the Lions' weakest points this season, I feel like, is the cover unit. They've got a great returner themselves, Terry Williams. That was a heck of a trade they made to bring him in, and he's definitely going to be able to make an impact. But I think Janarian Grant has the potential to break one here for a touchdown. I trend that in the Winnipeg direction. Sean White is 92% kicking this year, though. He is the leading kicker in the league. Mark Leggio, as much as I've been impressed with him this season in his bounce back year, is only at 82%. So how do you weigh this, right? I give the edge in the kicking game to BC. I give the edge in the return game to Winnipeg. So I guess much the same as the offense, I call this completely equal on special teams because they have different strengths here as well. And I know people are going to feel more confident about Sean White kicking the field goal on the BC side than people feel about Mark Leggio, despite it being a relatively good season for him there. Well, we talked about it a little bit already, and I think I know where you guys are going here. Coaching-wise, Rick Campbell and his crew over in BC, or Mike O'Shea and crew here in Winnipeg. Trey, you're firmly in the O'Shea camp here, right?
Yeah, again, Thank you to Wikipedia. Mike O'Shea 6-3 in the playoffs versus 4-3 Rick Campbell. It's close, but still, I give the edge to Osh. Buck Pierce is not playing, so there's no concerns of him getting hurt on Sunday, hopefully. So I think he'll be fine. Richie Hall, the bend not break, I'm gonna drive me up the wall. If I see them play zone once, I'm gonna turn the TV off. But you gotta go with Osh, right? They're on such a hot streak with him. It's hard to go against him. And, he's going to have those special team plays. I know we can't do that onside field goal anymore. I think they changed that rule from a few years ago, but he's got the rule book in his head. I'm sure he's got some plays. Adam, what are you feeling?
Well, I know that we always say that Mike O'Shea's won the last 2 Grey Cups. So, I mean, he should be the obvious choice, right? However, you got to remember, Rick Campbell did win a Grey Cup as well with, I believe it was Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was the Ottawa coach at that point. So, I mean, he's been great. You've got Ryan Phillips, who's probably one of the smarter defensive coordinators. I think I'd give them the advantage on defense right now, coaching over
Richie Hall.
Richie Hall, sorry. I should know that one too. I don't know what the heck. Anyways, Richie Hall just is the bend not break defense. It's been there for years, and I think it's starting to get a little bit old. So to me, I'm going to give advantage of the defensive coaching to BC if I want to really break this down a little bit. The offensive coaching, I think it's kind of a wash a little bit. I don't think Jordan Maximic is the best coordinator for offense, although he's had some good plays and he's had a great team around him. So, I mean, he's made do with what he's got. But I think that, in the end, I think Buck Pierce is probably the better coordinator there. But when it comes down to the head coach, I don't want to say it, but probably Mike O'Shea is still the better coach right now because somehow he gets that team motivated no matter what the situation is. I mean, I still remember that game in Saskatchewan. 58 minutes are played already. It's 2 minutes left in the game. And he's throwing challenge flags when it's 50-10. Like, come on, Mike, what are you doing? But you know what? He says that we go for 60 minutes. He makes sure his guys go for 60 minutes. So to me, I'm going to go Mike O'Shea. Plus, also, I want to see him go and throw Mike Miller as a quarterback to Willie Jefferson.
Offensively, I think I would actually lean towards BC. I think Jordan Maximic has done a fantastic job this season of taking a sophomore quarterback, I think, right? Year 2 for Rourke, or maybe it's year 3. He might have had more time as a backup, but a guy who had very few starts, took him in, called an excellent offensive game plan those first handful of weeks this season to set him up for success with the guys he had. Like they executed perfectly for a number of weeks early in the season. And I think he definitely benefits from having a guy like Rourke and all the tools he has at his disposal. But I've been very impressed with him. Yeah, Buck Pierce has done a pretty good job a lot of times too, but I feel like we've seen times and games this season where we're just questioning what's the game plan right now for that offense where it falls flat for stretches there. So I would lean a little bit towards BC on that end. But overall coaching wise, I got to go with the Bombers here. I mean, Mike O'Shea, nobody gets his team more ready for a playoff game than Mike O'Shea does. Like, we always talk every year, the bye week and the rust coming out of the bye and going into the playoffs. I don't believe that exists one bit for the Bombers team. Mike O'Shea knows how to get them ready and motivated for a playoff game. And it's not before a bye week this time. So that seems to be the only time he can't get the team on board. So I got to give a bit of a nod here to O'Shea and the unit there on the Bombers side. Anybody got anything else on BC Winnipeg before we move on to fantasy?
Yeah, one thing here. I think you're going to have to watch that defensive versus offensive line battle. You look at what the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have on an offensive line, and again, that's usually what ends up winning championships. I mean, you look at the amount of talent on that team with Patrick Neufeld and with Stanley Bryant and with Michael Couture and with all of the talent that Winnipeg Blue Bombers offensive line has. And then you look at the BC football offensive line. It's a very good line, and I full credits. It's played incredible for this season. That was what I was really worried about going into this season with the BC Lions was their offensive line, and they've well proven themselves this year. However, advantage for that would be the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I think that could maybe change the tide of the game, because if you don't get pressure on a quarterback, and Zach Collaros is one of those guys that never seems to find any pressure on him, or if he does, it's very little. That could be the big thing for me that could change this game. Trey, anything else?
Yeah, real quick question. Let's say late fourth quarter, down a touchdown. Which guy would you have more confidence in tying it or getting the game winning, Collaros or Rourke?
Ooh, that is a real tough one.
You had to pick one, right? Like if you're a Bomber fan and you're down a touchdown versus a BC fan down a touchdown with Rourke, that's because that's probably what we're gonna see. I really don't think this one's gonna get out of hand, right? Like even if a team gets a little bit of a lead, I'm sure the Bombers or the Lions, whoever's down, can whittle it away, and you're gonna get a touchdown game near the end, right? So I'd go with Collaros. I would go Collaros just off of age and veteranness and stuff like that. But then again, Rourke's got the gunslinger, right? So you never know.
If I had Nathan Rourke in front of the Winnipeg offensive line, it'd be Nathan Rourke all day. But
I'll take that trade. I'll take that trade, BC.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you would. May as well keep the dynasty going for another 10 years, anyways. Yeah, I've got to go with Collaros on that one because, I mean, I don't like to say it. Nathan Rourke has some intangible that you just can't define, I think, right now. But to me, yeah, no, I got to go with Collaros. He's been in that situation so many times already. Ends up getting that one touchdown. Although I don't know if Nathan Rourke will ring it up the off rights this time for you guys to save you. So could be that issue too.
I think I'm going to lean Collaros there as well, just based on the pressure, the playoffs, the veteran presence there. But to his credit, Nathan Rourke has, every time he's been under pressure this season, is he legit? Is this the guy? He somehow delivered increasingly better performances every time. So if we're talking last second playoff magic, there's been nobody more magical this season than Rourke. So I would potentially lean there. But yeah, I agree with you guys. Veteran experience of Collaros, I think, weighs out in my mind on that one. Well, let's move on to fantasy, and we'll make our fantasy picks for this week, and it's real tough. There's 4 teams to choose from. That means 4 quarterbacks, 4 defenses, a handful of options at running back and receiver only as well. You get $30,000, 5 positions to fill. Let's start with quarterbacks here. The 4 starters to choose from: Nathan Rourke and Zach Collaros, both equally at $10,000. McLeod Bethel Thompson at $8,500, Trevor Harris at $8,000. How would you rank them? The 4 of them is the question. I'll go here first. I'm going Nathan Rourke, number 1 at $10,000 here as my top quarterback. Like I said, Collaros, he'll throw some touchdowns, but I think Rourke can equally throw those, and he's got a higher ceiling on passing yards, I think. So I like Rourke at number 1. I'd probably go Collaros at number 2. He's had pretty consistent, not game-breaking numbers for the most part, but solid totals. Trevor Harris, I think I'd go at number 3, save $500 over McLeod Bethel Thompson. He gets some more touchdowns than MBT does. And then McLeod Bethel Thompson can break you a game, but more often than not seems slightly underwhelming in the fantasy perspective. You guys have your lists any other way? Trey?
No, I have my list the exact same way, but can I say who I'm actually putting in?
Yeah.
I'm putting Dakota Prukop in to save some money. He's gonna get He's gonna get a goal line sneak here and there. He's gonna get the play action toss. I'm spending my money elsewhere, so he's my number 1 guy right now. Adam.
That's because you got to save money for Dalton Schoen, isn't it?
Damn right. Damn right.
Anyways, to me, Ryan, I've got mine exactly the same way. Nathan Rourke, I mean, you got an intangible there that could possibly get you a pile of yards, and he'll still get you quite a bit of points. So to me, I think Nathan Rourke is number 1. So watch me go pick Trevor Harris or somebody this week. Then probably it's Zach Collaros at number 2 because he will probably have a pretty good game as well. Trevor Harris, number 3. You're right. Same reasons, essentially. I think he's probably a little bit better and cheaper than McLeod Bethel Thompson, who is number 4.
Well, they're just toying with us with the numbers this week because if we move on and we look at running backs here, the top two most expensive running backs, Brady Oliveira and James Butler, Winnipeg, BC, exact same price yet again at $7,500. Then you get a slew of running backs at $6,000. Walter Fletcher, AJ Ouellette, Andrew Harris, William Stanback is at $5,500. Those are probably, those are all the guys that are probably going to make the biggest impact for you when it comes to the running back position. I'm going, if he's healthy and he's in the game, I'm going Andrew Harris is my number one option here. He's cheaper than the top two guys. He's going to be fired up and ready to go for the playoffs. He has that capability to have big games if they utilize them, which I'd be shocked if they don't. I think I go Andrew Harris is my number one running back here this week. Other than that, Oliveira against the Lions, Butler. I think I like Butler better than I like Oliveira just because he's the only running back on the roster and they don't run a ton of running plays to other guys like the Bombers do that can take some, away from Oliveira. So I think I like James Butler there. He's more consistent, more of a receiving back regularly there. And Montreal, I really don't know what to do with Walter Fletcher and William Stanback because Fletcher's had the better games lately, but Stanback's the bigger name that you would think would get more of a role in crunch time here. So, yeah, I think it's going to be Andrew Harris or James Butler for me here at running back. Adam, what are you looking at?
You and me are thinking a lot alike lately, and that's either a good thing for me for fantasy for next year or a bad thing. I don't know yet. But no, I'm the same way. I'm going to go with the, as Chris said, veteranness of Andrew Harris. $6,000. I mean, he's cheap. And, compared to the other guys, and he's likely to start or get a few reps anyways for the Toronto Argonauts. I'm actually still debating it a little bit, though, because Walter Fletcher had a game last week. And the thing that I don't like about picking Walter Fletcher is the Toronto Argonauts defensive line is pretty scary to go against if you're going to go that way. So that's the only reason I'm looking at Andrew Harris, maybe a little bit more than Walter Fletcher, but or William Stanback for that matter. But I think Stanback is almost working his way into the second running back. And you never know. They might also throw Jethro Antwi out there just for mixing it up once in a while as well, Montreal. So they split up the ball too much for the running backs. But Walter Fletcher had such a good game last week. I think they're going to play him a little bit more this week. Over for the other game, essentially, to me, you're right, Ryan. You got a guy that can play all the reps or a guy that might play 3/4 of the reps. I'm going to go with the guy that plays all the reps if I'm going to have to spend $10,000. So I would go with James Butler over Brady Oliveira. Although if you're looking for a cheap option and you think that Johnny Augustine might get you some weird play or something, you never know. But to me, I'm going to probably stick with Andrew Harris. Trey, what are you up to?
I'm going to take out of Acadia, Riverview, New Brunswick native, number 24 on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Mike Miller of $2,500. We're going to go out here and see, you know what? He got a couple plays at quarterback. They wouldn't do that for no reason. Let's see some playoff madness here.
How would you rank the other options?
You started it with the Edmonton Elks. I mean,
I would if I actually had to take a real quarterback or a running back, I take Andrew Harris, I guess. I like your idea there with Augustine as well. If it's a little bit cheaper, he might get you never know. And if the game does get out of hand, maybe they run him more in the fourth quarter if the Bombers are up more, kind of not risk an injury. So maybe, but yeah, I'm trying to save my money elsewhere here. So Mike Miller is going to pick me up a quarterback sneak touchdown again.
Yeah, it's real tough needing the money to spread around here in the playoffs. Looking at wide receivers here, I'll let you guys go first on this one. Let's go back to you here, Trey. Who do you got at wide receiver this week?
I got that $10,000, the rookie of the year, Dalton Schoen. Pretty no-brainer. Got to spend the money there. And my flex, I got Curly Gittens Jr., so going again at $8,000. Top two guys, you're going to have to throw the ball. I know it's going to be chillier. You still got to throw the ball to win. You might have some 5-yard passes you might have 50-yard bombs. You never know, right? So Dalton Schoen and Gittens Jr. Adam?
Well, so far in this one, I've been looking at it pretty close, and I want to pick one cheap guy because I have to, essentially, at this point, and that's going to be Alexander Hollins. He had a good game last week. Why wouldn't you pick him again? $2,700, cheap play. Why not? And it seems like Nathan Rourke is starting to make some chemistry with him. So, hey, great pick. The other one that I'm going to pick, though, is the Swiss Army knife Canadian out of the University of Manitoba, Nick Dembski. I think he'll make a good pick. He might run out of the backfield. He might run out of the side. He comes from all sorts of directions. And, hey, he is the most outstanding Canadian in the Grey Cup last year. Why not? I'll take Nick Dembski.
I think I might need to change my password because Adam's hacked my computer here, because I have the same two exact guys at wide receiver here again. And that's really just banking on Alexander Hollins getting another start and Lucky Whitehead being out, because to me, he's the only viable cheap option to look at wide receiver this week. Like, Brendan O'Leary Orange, I don't think is an option necessarily when now that Greg Ellington and potentially Drew Wolotarski are back. Maybe Keon Julian Grant at 3,400 or Javon Catoy around that price, but those are hit and miss. There's really not a lot of cheap options at wide receiver. So if you can get Alexander Hollins at 2,700, he was the second leading receiver for the Lions last week. Yeah, I'm banking on that. Hopefully, we'll wait and see how the depth charts come out. Other than that, if next cheapest I'd probably go to would be Tyson Philpott of the Alouettes at 4,037. And then you got to, then take less money elsewhere. But I think that's a potential mid-priced option. I went with Nick Dembski as well, just because he gets involved in the receiving game. He gets involved in the rushing game. Yeah, Dalton Schoen gets a heck of a lot of touchdowns, but so does Nick Dembski. And he seems to be the guy that steps up the most when it comes to those big, important games. We see it all the time in those rivalry ones with the Riders. We see it in the playoff games as well, I think. So I like Nick Dembski there as a pick as well. I did, like you, Trey, have potentially Curly Gittins Jr. I was toying with that idea originally as well. I think he's the best option to go for from the Argos side. And I do still like Jake Winicky at 56-51 after he stepped up big time last week for Montreal. So there's not a ton of options. There's a couple of good ones. It's just a matter of, can you fit them in to the price at wide receiver? At defense, we've got 4 options for this week. Again, we've got the Argos most expensive at 3,500. We've got the Bombers and the Alouettes at 3,000. And we've got the BC Lions at 2,500. As the cheapest here. Based on what you've done with the rest of your lineup, I think I know where you're going, Adam, because I think we have the same amount of money left available. But who do you have on defense this week?
I've got the BC Lions. Surprise, surprise. The only reason is really because that's all I can afford. I've got $274 left over, so I guess I got enough for Grey Cup for next week if I'm going out to the team parties. I think the BC Lions can have a good defensive game. Zach Calero sometimes has those little bit of missteps in the West Final, so why not? I'm going to try the BC Lions out and go from there and have a full lineup because, not taking a defense is almost like cheating, right? No? Okay. Hey, Trey, what are you doing?
I'm taking the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. It's their home. It's their park. No one's going to steal the bike in their park. I don't know. I could see it going for 500 yards, but not a lot of points, right? And most of it's to points. It's going to, eat up your defense, maybe a couple sacks, maybe a fumble. I'll take Winnipeg. Ryan?
If I had the money, I'd go the Argos at 3,500. They're the biggest boom defense for me, especially, if Trevor Harris does start coughing it up. I'd probably go either Toronto or Montreal as my top 2 options. McLeod Bethel-Thompson, as much as he can put up the yards and as much as the offense gets it done, is usually good for an interception or 2 every week. So if the Alouettes could cash in on that like they did last week against the Ticats, well, then that could be a good day for the Montreal defense. But I'm a couple $100 short on that. Maybe I rework the rest of my lineup here, just to differentiate it from Adam. He beat me last week, so I want to beat him this week by at least a point to stay ahead in the playoff rankings. Maybe I would go with one of those defenses. But yeah, $2,500 is all I can fit in, which is the BC Lions. And I think I feel better about taking their defense than I'd like Winnipeg's right now. And like you said, Adam, as good as they are, Zach Collaros, we've seen a couple crucial fumbles this season, maybe a pick here or there. Last year in the West Final, 6 turnovers by the team. Maybe it happens again. I'll take the Lions defense just as a byproduct of not having the money elsewhere. Again, make sure you check the depth charts when they come out. They probably come out Saturday, and set your lineups accordingly based on that. And best of luck in CFL Fantasy to all of you this week. Let's round things out here with our division final picks powered by BetStamp. BetStamp is a free app that helps you find the best value for your online sports betting wagers by providing you comparisons of the best of the odds across a variety of different sports books, including the BetStamp recommended best odds. We'll be using those for our CFL picks here today. Both the money line picks and the picks against the spread. We'll make both because they could be different potentially. Learn more at betstamp.app and sign up with referral code CFC. Let me pull them up for us on the screen here, and we'll turn it over to you, Trey, our resident betting expert, to take us away.
Yeah, for this one, Montreal plus 3.5, Toronto -3. -3 on Cool Bet. You get plus 3.5 on Tony Bet. I'm going to take Montreal plus 3.5 when it comes to the point spread. I think this one's going to come down to a field goal or miss rouge or something like that. So I think if it was any lower, I'd probably go towards Toronto. But just because it's the full field goal, I will go with Uncle Gary and the Alouettes to keep it close. Adam?
I've been looking at this one and I can't really actually, I can decide because I'm wearing their hat. Nevertheless, no, I think that with Andrew Harrison there, that's a real difference for the Toronto Argonauts. It's a real boost. And also they've got back their big piece with Witten McManus back as well in the defense. So with those two pieces there, I'm going to go with the Toronto Argonauts to cover the 3. I think it'll be by a touchdown roughly. So it's still one possession, but I think it's going to be over 3 points. So yeah, give me the Argonauts for the spread. Right.
For the spread, I'm going with Trey here, I think, and I'm going with the Alouettes. I like that plus 3.5 line, right? Because you got to win by more than a field goal. So if we're getting down to what I think could be a last-minute drive type situation, and it's within 3 points, that's not going to do it, right? Or if it's tied late and they kick a field goal to win, that's not going to turn the tide. So I like that line of 3.5. I think it's going to be a close game between the teams. So against the point spread here, I'll take the Alouettes at plus 3.5 also. But I'm taking the Argos to win this one straight up on the money line. I think the home crowd is going to be a huge impact on this game for the Argos. I think they're going to get behind the team there. Andrew Harris being back potentially should provide them a boost. If Montreal can come out and play the way they did last week, against Hamilton early on, that may change my opinion at halftime of where things are going. But yeah, I think I got to stick with my original prediction, go with Toronto to the Cup.
So Adam, I'm assuming if you took them to cover, you're taking Toronto to win it. All right, and I'll take Toronto to win it as well. So yeah, we all agree there. Quick over under. Do you think it's going to be under or over 49? We'll throw that bet since it's up on the screen as well. Or 40. It's anywhere from 48 to 49. I'll go under 49. So 25-24 is kind of what you're looking at. Quick math there, Ryan.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable going the under on that one as well. These are two teams that don't score a ton. It's going to be a tight playoff game here where the defenses, I think, will take over.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be the under because, this is going to turn into a running game, and usually running games end up becoming a lot of punts in a lot of situations like that, and you got two good defenses. So, yeah, no, to me,
Awesome. Possum, let's go to the game that let's be honest, this one would be the Sunday night game. Now, if they did flex the games around, this would be the primetime game for sure. -4 at Cool Bet for Winnipeg, plus 4.5 for the BC Lions. This is an intriguing line. I am going to take the home team, Winnipeg, -4. It's going to be close. Now, I want to take... no, I'll take the 4. I'll leave it at the 4, and we'll go with Ryan.
Oh, this one's tough. My heart obviously says Nathan Rourke and the Lions. My head, though, says nobody prepares better for a playoff game the last 2-3 years than the Bombers do. They're at home. BC's got to come out from the dome, play out in the cold here in Winnipeg, where the Bombers are, traditionally very good at home the last number of years. The crowd is going to be rocking there as well. I think I'm taking Winnipeg to cover the -4 here in this one. If it was like, we've seen some spreads this year where it was like Winnipeg 7, like a 7-8 point spread, I'm not going that high, but I think they can win this one by 4. So I'll take that. Adam?
I don't know. I know I want BC to win this one so bad, and I want them to get over 4.5 to prove a point. But this is tough because I've been saying Nathan Rourke all week, and I've been saying how great he is and how he's got that X factor and that little thing that's something about him, right? But I don't think BC's offensive line has the same thing, unfortunately. And if you've got one great offensive line and one supreme offensive line, you got to go with the best offensive line out there. And that's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. As much as I like to say it's the BC Lions and say that Nathan Rourke is going to take this game and absolutely dominate, I sure hope he does. But in logic terms, I got to go with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers at -4. It sucks, but that's the way it is.
There you go, mute button. So yeah, we're all taking the -4, so we all took Winnipeg to outright win it as well. Over under on this one, I'll take the over. I think this one's going to go over 50 points. Again, that's like a 25-25 game. I could see this one being 35-30, somewhere in there. Defensive touchdown here, kick return touchdown here. Adam, what do you feel about that one?
No, I'm going to go on the under on this one. The reason being is if it's slippery and it gets a little bit warmer out in Winnipeg, that the artificial turf can get pretty slippery. And that means people will be slipping and sliding and interceptions and fumbles and all sorts of good stuff. And that means that sometimes a lot of points don't get scored unless it's on one side and it's a one-sided game. And that's hard to make 50 points. So to me, I'm going to go on the under on this one. Ryan? You're muted.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Yeah, sorry. Every time I think I bump the microphone and I'm not sure if I've muted it, and I'm still trying to figure out what the indicator on it means when it's flashing versus solid because it's not very descriptive. Anyway, sorry about that. Now it's working again. I think I'm going the over here. I agree with Trey that, these are two high-powered offenses that I am excited to see out there for a full game because we got that game here in Winnipeg. The only time BC came to town was in that meaningless Week 21 game. There's a lot of firepower to go around, and I expect this to be a high-scoring one. So I will take the over on it as well. I like the over-under. Next year, I think we should go, money line against the spread and the over-under on each game. Add more variation to it.
That way there I can be right in the basement so you say, for everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, that's our picks. I don't have the standings right in front of me, but yeah, we all know where they're at. Adam, you're keeping it up there, man. You got 3 games, got to go 2-1 to stay over 500. Ryan and myself were safe from that matter, but yeah.
And only the picks against the spread count for that, just to be
right.
clear. So.
Yeah. Well, of course, because I got to know what the record is now to beat next year, right? So I'm at like 52, right, or something like that. So got a challenge for next year.
Yeah, it's been a great season of making our picks here, and we got 3 more games to finish it off here on that regard as well. It's going to be an exciting weekend of football, guys. I'm really excited for both of these games. It's going to be a lot of fun to see how everything plays out and how we get into the Grey Cup upcoming here. Sad to see the season get down to the end, though, here and end. It's been a lot of fun all year doing this with guys every single week, and we'll talk about what's going to go on in the off season and such. So stay tuned for more updates, I guess, on that going forward. But I think that we're ready to get into wrapping it up here. So let's take a look at what's coming next on the podcast. Well, Monday, after the games take place Monday night, 9 p.m. Central Time, we'll be here to recap the division finals. Each of the games, we'll take a look at the 2 losing teams as well. where they're headed into the off season after, getting so close to going to the Grey Cup. So we'll look at that Monday night at 9 p.m. And then Thursday night, November 17th, our Grey Cup preview show, 9 p.m. Central Time here as well. We'll break down the matchup just like we did tonight. I'm sure we'll have some other fun things from Grey Cup week to talk about here as well, which should be a lot of fun there also. You can catch these shows live over on YouTube, the Canadian Football Countdown there, on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and the Game Time TV YouTube page also. Thanks to our presenting sponsor, Game Time TV, which you can learn more about at gametimetv.ca. If you want to follow us on social media, the podcast is at CF Countdown Pod on Twitter. Not verified, but it's there. Facebook.com/CF Countdown Pod as well. Check out all the other great shows from around the Canadian Football Podcast Network at CF Pod Network on Twitter. And guys, where can people find everything you've got going on? Trey, I think you get priority here. You've earned it. So Trey, where can people find you?
Real quick, fun Grey Cup fact here. I want to know, out of the 9 active teams, who do you think has the best winning percentage in the Grey Cup?
Well, it certainly isn't the Rough Riders. I know that one.
Well, yeah. So we'll do best first, and then who do you think has the worst? So who's the best?
Argos?
Yeah, I would think Argos.
Argos at 71.4%, and out of the 9 teams, 73.9, and out of the 9 active teams, who has the worst percentage?
I don't have my green hat with me.
You're right. Wisconsin Rough Riders at 21%. Actually, fun fact, Baltimore Stallions have a better winning percentage in the Grey Cup than 5 of the active teams. So at 500.
They're 50%, aren't they?
Yeah, 500, yeah. So that's I'm so happy. When people used to say the Bombers haven't won the Grey Cup in a while, I'd always say an American team has won more recently, right? So, and I'm glad can't say that anymore.
We should do a trivia night in the off season. That's fun. I like that.
Yeah. When you get on Wikipedia, you find some interesting stuff. But yeah, you can find me at Twitter at TreyMBHarness. I now have a little check mark because Elon Musk just said, screw it. Let's give it to anyone who can pay for it, right? So I want to test it out and see what Twitter Blue offers and the verified. But at TreyMBHarness, I got horse racing stuff, football stuff, Call of Duty stuff, Star Wars stuff, whatever you want to talk about. Adam, where can I find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Adam Stewart 1. I know I'm a little harder to find because I'm not verified like Trey, but should be okay to find me. Usually if you look for farm stuff or you look for hockey stuff or you look for football stuff, I'm usually somewhere around there. So you can find me there. You can also find Mike if you're looking for him. He hasn't been here for a week now, but he's still at Mike Garrell. You could definitely ask him all about the
MWJHL.
There we go, that one. So he's all over that right now, and he's excited to be getting going on that. So real good for him. And what I've got going on essentially this weekend, going to be talking a lot of senior hockey because we have our home opener this weekend. Going to be a pretty good game. If you're in Saskatchewan and want to check out some good hockey, come on out to the Theodore Rec Complex. I'm sure it'll be pretty fun. Ryan, where can guys find you?
You can find me on Twitter at CooperTrooper42 if you want to talk CFL, CFL Fantasy, anything like that. I don't tweet a whole ton, but you can follow me there and chat with me if you would like. I did just now think of, do I make the leap and make a Twitter account for the Nathan Rourke for Hall of Fame campaign and pay the $8 a month to verify it? But then also will my wife be upset at me if I do that? Probably. I mean, I'd be upset at myself for spending money on something so useless as verifying a fake Twitter account. Not saying it's useless.
Okay, I was going to say, honey, are you mad that I verified my account today? The people are waiting, yes or no? She says no, so that's okay.
No, it's 1 month. It's 1 month. You're trying it out. No, but if I made a fake account for something like this and did that,
someone made a fake McDavid account and verified it and said that he got traded to the Rangers or something, and then people thought it was real. So I was like, within hours of it being, but you can see who paid for it versus who's actually verified. So remember that when you see some of those celebrity ones, double check if it's paid for or if they're an actual public figure.
Yeah, and if you see a CF Countdown Pod account out there that is going above and beyond, yeah, that's not us, right? So don't
We're
expect
the ultimate underachievers here, folks. We don't try that hard.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. No, yeah, we do an okay job, I like to think. We have a lot of fun here on the show, of course, and we enjoy everybody who joins us every week in our live chat. Thanks for hanging out. We had some great comments throughout the night here as well. We appreciate anybody who listens at any time, and we would love if you take the time to do all the fun things such as like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share the show with your friends, help us grow the show. We always appreciate that. On behalf of our panel here this evening, Trey, Adam, and myself, thank you for listening. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.